Welcome to Land Academy. I'm Jack Butala.
I'm Jill DeWitt.
We show you how to buy real estate for half of what it's worth.
And sell it on the internet really fast.
We are Jack and Jill,
and this is the Jack and Jill Show too.
With over 15,000 completed transactions, we're the experts at acquiring property.
Of all kinds, not just land.
For half price and flipping them for way more.
All right, let's get this show started.
Jack Butala with Jill DeWitt.
Hello there.
Welcome to the show today. In this episode, Jill and I talk about the 5 stages of wealth, of your wealth. Before we get into it, let's take a question posted by one of our members on the landinvestors.com online community. It's free.
Okay. Jared asked, I got a call on a Craigslist deal. 2 1-acre lots for $27,000 total. I comped the area for around $24,000. It is on a road with houses on each side of the lot. It has water and electricity, needs a septic tank. What would you offer and would you buy it? This is leading into the land tank kind of thing that we talked about.
Yes, it is.
So
Shark Tank for land.
Like here's the offer. Would you do it? You know, kind of thing. Would you do this deal?
Would you do this deal? Would you do this deal?
So 2 lots. One, I'm gonna guess. Okay, I'm gonna see. I don't have all the information, so I have to kind of guess. So if it's 2 lots that are each worth $24,000, but you can get the 2 lots for $27,000, then I would do this deal.
This comes back to a few days ago. Okay, good. That's good. You would do it. Mm-hmm. This comes back to a couple days ago on a show about how to price property. Mm-hmm. So one comp in the area for $24,000. This is what that means to me. Mm-hmm. One like-kind property sold for $24,000.
Right.
The math personality in me says I need way more data to get comfortable, get my head around the fact that I want to do this deal. One comparison value, especially if it's a completed sale, doesn't.
I want more than one.
So that being said, this is the 50% rule. So he's at about $13,000 of property for theoretically properties that are worth $20,000. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty safe. Mm-hmm. I'd go in and try to get them for $10,000 each. Yeah, maybe a little less, just to be comfortable.
Just so you can.
And then I'd give myself a 30-day close and try to sell them before I bought them. Mm-hmm. See what we mean, where we are here on this.
Right, on the same page. Because we always
let's
are.
Cherish that moment.
You know, we are. That's one thing that everyone knows about us. If you're around us, boy, that Jack and Jill, they agree about everything.
They're so agreeable.
They're on the same page all the time.
They never disagree. I wonder what that's like.
Nope.
People ask me, is Jill really like that all the time? I said, she's just a barrel of laughs.
Stinker. Hey, come on.
My point is, before Jill appropriately interrupted me. Appropriately.
Oh, thanks.
Because this is a funny show.
Thank you.
We're systematically, step by step, we're reducing the risk and the problems that could come up potentially with a bad deal. In a deal. Number 1, we want to get it for half. Check. Number 2, we want to sell it before we buy it. Mm-hmm. Check. We're just reducing all the risk, hopefully to zero. It's never going to be zero, but selling a piece of property before you buy it, that's a pretty darn good thing.
Well, you know what? And it really comes down to...
That's a pretty darn good thing.
That's it. It really comes back to when you buy it right, it's pretty darn easy to sell it. Don't you think?
Yeah, so there's an age-old commercial real estate rule. I remember where I was sitting and who I was talking to when someone first said it to me. And they said, you never want to end up with for sale, in quotes, property.
Just had this vision of somebody telling you this, like you're like a toddler. Because I look at you, Jack, because I'm sorry, I just had this image of you. You're smart. I can just see you as a toddler planning a business. That's why I just had that vision of you. Yeah. I can remember where I was. I was in my crib and my grandmother said, you never want to have for sale property. You know what I mean? I could see you.
And did I have a cigar? I was smoking a cigar in the crib.
And that's when I knew this was my life dream. And I was 18 months. It's like, I don't know. Yes, it's a cartoon, but I don't know why. So
Now, how many times do you drive down the road and you're looking at a building and it's got a big sign on it the sign's like faded. It's been there for so long and it says for sale or rent.
Oh my
or
gosh.
lease. You never
Built
wanna
to
end
suit.
up- yeah, built to suit. That's a good one.
Yeah.
You never want to end up with for sale property. And our business is no exception. You want to know what you're going to do with the property and how it's going to go and as much details on where the end, the exit, before you ever get into it at all.
There you go.
I see a lot of people who are brand new and they're real excited and they buy property and they don't buy it right. Not a lot, but it happens just because they want to be in it. They want to own some property. Don't do that.
No, but you know what? And you could always do if you're a new investor, and for Jared, who's not a new investor, but you could put some testers out there in the market, some similar stuff just to see, or make some calls, without divulging the details on this one, make some calls, like Jack's saying, just to see what the interest is. And
Jill makes a great point. There's two things immediately before you go any further that could dramatically reduce the risk here. Number one, call 2 or 3 real estate agents and say, I've got a property, an infill lot property in subdivision X for 10 grand.
Yeah.
Or not 10. I'm buying it.
15.
I would like to sell it for 15 or
Right.
20. If they're worth 24, I want to sell it for 20. Can you
Right.
get rid of it for me really fast?
Right.
And then number 2 is you can put a posting in Craigslist or wherever property sells, a local thing.
Right.
There used to be a website called Backpage. I used to put, I don't think it happens anymore at all now, but for rentals, it works pretty well, especially in rental neighborhoods. It works very, very well to put it in the paper.
Okay.
To in the newspaper, actually, if you're trying to rent a house.
Got it.
So you can test it that way. But even long before you even buy it, you put it right in there and leave out a few of the details like the APN and things like that, and just see if there's 50 people call you to rent a house that you haven't bought yet. There's a pretty darn good chance you're going to be okay.
Exactly.
Same thing with the sales in Craigslist.
Yep.
You'll get an indicator real quick. If 2 people call you in 3 weeks, you want to run away.
Right.
Never have for sale property.
Correct.
If you have a question or you want to be on the show, reach out to either one of us on landinvestors.com. Today's topic, the 5 stages of wealth. This is the meat of the show. This is also a topic I wrote because I don't think Jill would ever want any part of this.
Well, I want to hear what your things are, and then I have something I want to add that what this made me think of.
This came up because I wrote the outline the other day for a book that I'm going to release in about 3 months called Wealth, or Your Wealth. I haven't titled it yet, but it's things that I wish I'm not a young man any longer, but I wish someone would explain this to me when I was younger. Number 1, here's my 5, and then Jill's going to hopefully have some stuff to say, and maybe she'll debunk the whole thing. Number 1, secure a revenue source, i.e. get a job. All right, nothing's going to happen unless I don't care who you are or what you are, unless you're a trust fund baby. You've got to secure an ongoing revenue source. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, trust fund kids
probably need it even more.
They have a built-in revenue source. It's interest income or whatever. So secure a revenue source, number 1. Number 2, remove any debt or don't accumulate. Better yet, don't take on any. Unless it's business-associated debt and you actually know how it's going to go.
So that's stage 2.
Number 3, the 5 stages, yeah. Mm-hmm. Begin to accumulate equity. There's 2 ways to do this. Saving money from the revenue source that you have, your job. Or number 2, invest it and turn it. Number 2 is how fortunes are made. Number 1 is how you live a lonely little life of savings.
You're right. And under your mattress.
Yeah. Number 4. Now you're accumulating.
Stage 4.
Number 4 is start to plan with this accumulated equity for your non-working years, or also known as retirement. So now you're stocking some away and you're planning your exit. That's a whole stage that gets completely overlooked by the vast majority of people, even wealthy people. Mm-hmm. And finally, number 5, which is my personal favorite, create a legacy revenue stream for people after you're gone. It may be in the form of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It may be in the form of a couple $100,000 in a bank account left for your kids. Maybe you leave a company or some assets that they can handle, but you plan for it. So what's the theme here? Plan.
Mm-hmm.
And how long? Can makes it more fun for me?
Can I ask a question? How much time should you spend in these different stages?
That's up to you. If you're Steve Jobs, Steve Jobs was worth a couple $100 million by the time he was 22. So he went through all these stages, all 5 of them,
But did he do
as
all
an adult in like 3 years?
Did he? I can see the secure the revenue source. Got that. He did that early. Remove the debt. I'm assuming that happened because he had the money. Accumulate the equity. I don't know if he set out to do that, but it just kind of happened. You know what I mean? It just kind of happened. Now, plan for non-working years of retirement. I'm not sure if he did that. And did he create the legacy? I'm not sure.
He did.
Okay.
With Apple stock options and stuff.
Okay, cool.
And he's not he's very atypical. But I mean, to take a regular person, right? You go to school, you go to high school, you maybe go to a trade school afterward, maybe you don't. Maybe you go to college, maybe you don't. Maybe go to college like Bill Gates and drop out. Maybe you're smart, like Mark Cuban too. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what you do. But all of those things, none of it's going to happen unless mom and dad are helping you pay for school or you have a job. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a job. That's number one.
What if you spend too much time in stage 3?
Accumulating equity?
Yeah.
Like
you're just
saving?
hung up.
Hung up saving?
Yeah.
Then you need to. That's a great question.
You're. What I'm really serious. You're hung. You've got your revenue source. You removed your debt. Now you are creating company after this, after that, and you're not. You're just hung up there. Mm-hmm. I'm not speaking about anybody in particular. I'm just saying I can just see people doing that.
Well,
how do you get out of that?
The more frequent way that I've seen it, and my parents are guilty of this, is just working their whole lives.
Right.
So they're accumulating equity. Let's say I'm throwing out an arbitrary number and leave my parents out of it. Two people, married people, both working at reasonably good jobs, are saving $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take your whole life.
Well, some people too get hung up in stages 1 and 2. Secure revenue. They've got a revenue source, but it's not a big enough revenue source.
That's right.
And they can't get out from the stupid debt. That's one of the things I like about Dave Ramsey, that when he talks about telling people, well, you might need to get another job or a better job.
Got to make more money.
Because this one's not going to do it. Just because you have a job doesn't mean that it's going to solve all the problems. You need to make some good money here to take care of this debt. And that kind of makes sense. That's a Captain Obvious thing.
That's what Susie Orman's famous for saying. If you have a money problem, it's because you don't make enough money.
There you go.
That's it.
I agree with that. That's brilliant.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love it. Well, you know what? I would like to shift this topic just a little bit because I look at this another way, and I'm going to share with you. This is really cool. We have a really good friend who has a Middle Eastern.
She's from India.
Okay, yeah. Background is that. Anyway, so he looks at things a little bit differently.
He's very spiritual.
Very smart. Oh my gosh.
He's incredibly intelligent.
Very smart.
Works for Intel.
So we were at lunch one day, and we had our number one kid. Actually, we were out one afternoon. I don't know. Anyway, we had number one kid, and she was about to have a big birthday. And I don't know why we were all giving her little pieces of advice. I don't know, but he might have come up with this too. That we're kind of going around the table giving her a little piece of advice of with our wisdom for someone in her 20s, what to do. So this friend of ours wrote down on a napkin, and I took a picture of the napkin, and she saved the napkin and what he thought about wealth and adulthood and all that good stuff. So what he wrote was, I thought this was so cool. At 25, you live for your parents. At 50, you live for your family. At 75, you live for your community. And at 75 plus, bonus, be there. That's what he wrote.
That's just like him.
Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of ties into this. So it's another way to look at the stages of wealth in your life and planning for retirement and planning for your family. And I just thought that was interesting, and I wanted to share that.
That's brilliant.
Thank you. Do you have anything to say about it, or just like, okay, Jill?
No, that's brilliant. That's why this show is about information and inspiration, because you can't really successfully have one without the other. If you just are all information, we all know engineers, and they're all information weirdos. and there's no counterbalance to anything, and you don't want to have lunch with an engineer more than once.
Unless you're an engineer.
And the flip side of that is there's only so much Tony Robbins you can take.
True.
Too much spiritual weirdness. So that's why there's two of us, Jill.
Yeah, I know. If we were both like me, it would be a disaster. If we were both like you, it would be a disaster.
We would have like 2 listeners instead of 7.
Thank you.
So those are the 5 stages of wealth, according to me anyway. And I'm going to leave you with this thought. There's a few things that will permanently throw a wrench into this program that I see people do all the time. In fact, I'm guilty of it.
Ready?
Number 1, get married.
Oh, Jack.
Number 2.
You can't stop.
Number 2,
Have a kid.
buy a house with a 97% loan to value mortgage.
Oh.
And finally, number 3, have 1 or 2 or 3 kids.
Jack. But everybody does those things.
Everybody.
What do we do?
You control yourself. Now you have all the information, listener. If you're a young man, specifically, this was who I'm writing this book for, young men. There's
got to be a way to have it all.
She doesn't know
What if
it
you
yet.
really want to get married?
Jill doesn't know it yet. She's writing the female version of this book.
Okay. What if you really want to get married
Then
and you
you
want
need
to
to
buy a
sit
house
down.
and you want to have kids?
I think it's great. That's why there's 2 of us.
Okay.
I think if you really want to get married, then find out, look at this 5-stage scenario. And if you really want to get married, and most people do, and that's fine, male or female, fit it in. Do you want to be debt free when you get married, or do you want to have a ton of debt? Do you want to be in the let's accumulate equity stage? I know I'm very fortunate.
This is smart.
I get to meet lots of young, smart people, and they find us, okay? And we're sending out the smart vibe, I guess. You know, it wasn't like that in the beginning, I'll tell you. Some ding-dongs in the beginning.
Silly.
And I recently met 22 to 24, don't know their exact age. They were done with a 4-year degree, and they were going to get married. And I gave them this little speech, and I said, "Where are you guys in this whole thing?" And they said, "Oh, no, we never had any debt. We worked our way through college. Yes, it's possible. People don't say that you can, but you can.
It's true.
And we have, and they told me how much they were each making. And they were making, I will say this, they were making more than $250,000 together and living in an apartment. And I said, you kids are ready to get married. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, Jill, what I see happening way more often than not is people get married and then they try to figure this stuff out.
True.
And it's just a mess. Or then they have a couple of kids and they've got a
They
ton
don't
of
have
debt.
a plan.
Yeah, there's no
It's
plan,
all
Jill.
it's
That's the
they're in
thing.
catch-up mode the whole time.
Exactly.
And that's frustrating and tiring.
So if you have a huge mortgage, a pretty sucky job, and a bunch of kids,
And a lot of debt.
and a bunch of debt, you need to really sit down with your partner and put a plan together. Mm-hmm. There's lots of free education out there about helping with money and stuff. Let's start with Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive advocate of Dave Ramsey because I think in his older age now, he's getting real angry.
That's really funny.
He's like yelling at
He
people.
does yell a lot more than I think he did in the beginning. This is very true.
But his whole baby steps program and the stuff that's written, his free written material, and even the books that he charges almost nothing for the value that you get out of it are fundamental.
I've read his books. I
have
have
too.
I sent kid number 1 through the program for kids at a
she's
church.
killing it.
And I think it's really great stuff.
I do too.
And a lot of us just need those reminders and sometimes you almost need to be told it's okay. I don't know why, but it's totally okay to say, no, we're eating in and we're doing this and we're on a budget. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
It's okay to say, yeah, I like ramen noodles.
Yeah. Silly. But it's okay.
I do like ramen noodles.
Dave does beans and rice and beans and rice and beans. And that's what you just
good.
had a little while ago.
I did, actually. That's what I ate today.
It's kind of funny. Not by choice. I mean, not because you had to, because you like it. It's funny.
So have a plan, break it all down, and execute.
Love it.
And read my book.
I will.
Join us in another episode where Jack and Jill discuss how to use information. That's me.
And inspiration, that's me.
To get just about anything you want.
We'll use it every day to buy property for half of what it's worth and sell it immediately.
You are not alone in your real estate ambition. That was not a book plug. Did it sound like it?
No, I love it. No, I'm excited for it. And it's,
Will you write the girl version? Or is that a bad idea?
No, I'd have to really write the girl version. Because because girls think differently, and we don't, and we shouldn't. You know what I mean?
I think, for all the joking around we do about relationships and stuff, I really do believe that two people, whether they're both men, both women, or a man and woman, have we're two people, obviously, so much better of a chance at doing really well in life than just one person on their own.
You need someone to counterbalance and question things.
And
sometimes
exactly.
I hate,
another pair of
you
eyes.
don't like it. You don't, it can be frustrating and not a good thing, but you need that.
Every time you and I work on something together, whether it's at work or home, we both, there's parts of it that I'm good at and there's parts of it that you're good at.
Yeah.
And we stick to that. Everything goes really well.
Mm-hmm.
Information and inspiration to buy undervalued property.
We are Jack and Jill, and this was the Cash Flow from Land Show.
We're the experts at acquiring property
Of all kinds, not just land.
for half price just so we can flip it for way more.
And really fast. Thanks for listening.
You are not alone in your real estate ambition.